Have you ever heard the claim that the military is secretly 100 years ahead of us in technology? Is it possible they're hiding things like free energy or anti-gravity devices? Let's break down what's real, what's plausible, and what's just a bit of an exaggeration. First, let's talk about the military research time gap. It's absolutely true that defense research often runs way ahead of what we have in our homes. Take the internet, for example. It began as DARPA's ARPANET back in the 1960s, but the public web didn't really take off until the 1990s. That's a 30-year gap. What about GPS? It was a US Air Force project in the 1970s, but it wasn't fully available for public use until the year 2000. Drones were used for military reconnaissance in the 80s, but civilian drones only became common in the 2010s. Even stealth materials, developed in the 70s, weren't even partially disclosed until the 90s. So, a lag of 10 to 40 years is pretty standard. This delay happens because of national security, secrecy, and the slow process of scaling up production. So, is the gap 100 years? That's probably stretching it. But the feeling of a century-long divide makes sense when you hear about how exotic some of this CLASSIFIED research can sound. Now, what about these so-called ether technologies? When you hear the term, it's usually referring to some really out-there concepts, things like zero-point energy, which is the idea of pulling energy right out of the vacuum of space, or anti-gravity and field propulsion, which would allow vehicles to fly without wings or rockets. People also talk about plasma systems, frequency-based healing, and even something called scalar energy. These ideas aren't new. They were seriously explored in the early 20th century by brilliant minds like Nikola Tesla, with his dream of wireless energy transmission. There was also T. Townsend Brown, who worked on electrogravitics, and Victor Schauberger, who studied implosion energy in water vortexes. Officially, MAINST or EAM science moved away from the concept of an ether after Einstein's theory of relativity replaced it with the idea of spacetime. However, that doesn't mean the research just stopped. Some classified labs and French scientists continue to experiment with these field effect concepts, just under new names like high-frequency plasma propulsion or vacuum energy research. So, what kind of unconventional projects are plausibly being worked on by the military today? We know for a fact that defense agencies have explored some pretty wild stuff. There was Project Stargate, which investigated psychic abilities like remote viewing. We have HAARP, a program that studies the ionosphere using powerful radio waves. And DARPA is constantly looking into exotic propulsion systems. These projects show that the military is definitely interested in unconventional energy, and even consciousness, usually for applications in communications, psychology, or aerospace. But here's the key thing. There is no verified public proof that working ether engines or zero-point generators are in active military use. All we have are persistent rumors, some declassified patents that raise eyebrows, and scattered claims from supposed insiders. What is plausible based on current physics? Are things like classified plasma and electromagnetic propulsion experiments. Advanced energy storage and directed energy weapons. Think lasers are definitely real. And so are frequency modulated communications and advanced radar cloaking. There are even human-machine interface projects that explore the neural fields of the brain. All of these modern technologies build on principles that echo the old ether theories. The idea of manipulating energy fields rather than just physical matter. This leads to the big question. If this technology exists, why is it suppressed? There's a long-standing belief that free energy or field propulsion is kept under wraps for several reasons. One is to maintain the control of the global petroleum and energy markets. Another is to prevent these powerful technologies from being weaponized by rogue states or falling into the wrong hands, which could destabilize the world. And of course, there's the simple need to protect national security secrets. Some of this is undeniably true. The US government has laws like the Invention Secrecy Act, which can classify certain patents and keep them from the public. However, most of the suppression theories remain unverified, simply because classified programs are, by their very nature, not public. So, to wrap it all up, is the military 100 years ahead of us? Provably, no. That number is likely an exaggeration. But are they decades ahead in specific, highly advanced fields? Yes, absolutely. We can be pretty certain they are far advanced in directed energy systems, plasma propulsion, and biotech or neurotech interfaces. And these fields all touch upon the core principles of what used to be called ether science, the deep, interconnected relationship between energy, consciousness, and matter. The future is probably weirder than we think, but it's being built on a foundation of science that's been explored for over a century. Thanks for watching. If you found this topic as fascinating as I do, please hit the like, and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the world of hidden science and technology. See you in the next one.